I'm Corbett Wall with DVAuction, here with your cattle market summary for the week ending January the 30th, where you had the week of cattle trading just opening up with a wreck. On Monday there, your CME boards were sharply lower, had the expanded limits, so seeing unprecedented losses there. You also had your cash feeder markets opening sharply lower. All your Monday auction markets were just double-digit losses there and really looked like a wreck on Monday. By the time we got into Tuesday, it looked like we were starting to find a bottom to this, or at least some bottom side support. And your cash prices were still lower, but not as much lower as your Monday markets. And you started to see like a little bit of stability coming there in the market a little bit. Closing markets for the end of the week, your feeder cattle on a cash basis $2 to $10 lower. After opening the week, $10 to $15 lower. Calves, lighter weight stockers, things like that were weak to as much as $20 lower, and you saw the full decline across the southeast there in your crossbred markets, and you saw the least amount of decline on your calves in the southern plains, where we don't see a whole lot of lightweight calves this time of year. A lot of your analysts come out this week and thought maybe we'd found a bottom to the markets this week, and especially there on a Monday going into the middle of the week. There was some technical support seen in the charts there, and a lot of the analysts were calling the feeder market oversold. But now we're getting to the point where the fundamentalists are starting to worry about this market a little bit more, and it's really looking more like a false bottom, or maybe even a trap door that we could fall through here, because we're starting to get into some data now that shows that we are fully in the middle of herd rebuilding. Inventory report come out this Friday, had total cattle and calves up 1%. Your beef cow numbers up 2% over a year ago, starting out the year, and replacement heifers up 4%. So we are sure rebuilding our herds now. That's not to say that we're not going to be short of numbers, especially grazing cattle numbers going into the spring here, but we probably have seen our all-time highs for the foreseeable future. 2014 will probably be the year that everybody tells their grandkids about, and probably won't see those kind of price levels for a long, long time. We've had real mild weather, not so much in the northeast where a lot of our product is consumed, but all through your major cattle production areas, we saw real mild weather so far this year. We hope it continues. Cattle gains have still been good all through there. Bad thing is, there hasn't been a whole lot of snow in your major cattle production areas to offer a lot of moisture going into the spring there. But still, your grazing prospects are pretty high, and we're probably going to see, like every year going into March, April, is your grazing cattle stocker weight, especially those thin-fleshed yearling, calf weight yearlings that the guys really like to turn out. We're going to see those go through the roof again, but not so much on your bigger cattle. This week, Loop City, Nebraska had a straight load of 804-pound steers, bring 206. That was kind of the high end right there, and that's still over $1,650 a head. Your 5 weight calves on a flat 500-pound steer calf, they won't bring $3 anymore in most markets. Maybe one or two or an outline little package will, but it's not going to cost that to put a load together. It's still going to cost $280 or better to put together a really top end of 500-pound steers there. That's over $1,400 a head. Your fats this week were mostly steady, kind of on the weak side, still selling at mostly $160 live, although your dressed sales were lower this week. But $1.60 on an average fat steer heifer there is still $2,200, but it's going to be dipping below that going forward. Probably not going to see $160 anymore. We're going to be somewhere below that for the foreseeable future. Really, most of your cattle people, on the exception of your cow-calf producers, but they understand, would really like to see more manageable prices in your cattle complex here. It's just cost so much money to handle these cattle. Cost so much money, you can't handle near as many for the same amount of money as you could a few years ago. And we'd really probably as a whole like to see those prices be more manageable. Packers are going to be the easiest ones to get that done. There's only a handful in the buying end of your packers. They can wrestle those prices a little bit lower. Feedlot buyers, the next up. You know, there's a lot of cattle feeders out there. You got your independent farmer feeders there, but not as many of them as they are in the stocker end there. And most of those are going to buy those cattle, you know, that you can hedge, and most of them are under restriction to really try to do that. But by far your biggest buying pool is your stocker operators, your backgrounders, and they're going to be able to really dive into these cattle here. There's so many of them. They're the most susceptible to fall into emotion when they're trying to put these cattle together, and can really go over their head, and probably will again, just like they do every spring when this grass fever really takes off. You know, there's a lot of things that don't make a lot of sense just on the surface of this cattle business here. You know, we feed these cattle to make a tender and juicy product, get them sweet and putting fat on them. Most of your consumers don't think that they want that. You get into your ground beef, and most of your housewives are looking for 90% lean product, not knowing that that's mostly scraped from the shelliest of those thin cows, or acquired through a process that the media doesn't really like and finds slimy. But everybody wants that 90% product. Hit an all-time record high this week, and at the same time your slaughter cows were quite a bit lower again this week for the third week in a row. But all the issues that affect the cattle business here are going to be hashed over at NCBA convention this coming week in San Antonio, Texas. And DVAuction and Merck Animal Health are going to be unveiling not really a novel idea, but a new idea in feeder cattle market reporting. Cattle Market Central is an automated market reporting system that is acquired through the auction markets clerk system, and all come through automatically through the computers that way, real time, from the time those cattle go through the ring till the time they can show up on the Cattle Market Central will be less than 2 minutes. And we can put together something that emulates your CME feeder cattle index, and could really be something to take this feeder cattle marketing market reporting system by storm. That wraps up your cattle market summary for this week. To find this report and more information, check out DVAuction.com or the stockexchangenews.com. And from a home office here in Maysville, Missouri, we'll talk to you next week.